$21.6 million in extra profit is what we were able to add in one single quarter in one of our portfolio companies by implementing a sales team. And we went from 0 sales guys to 40 sales guys in 120 days. And so I want to walk you through the process so that you can apply this to your business. But before I explain the $21.6 million increase, let me kind of give you some context on this business and where it was in the life cycle. We brought in mercenaries. So when I say mercenaries, I mean an outsourced sales team. The founder of the business had never been in sales at all. He'd never got on the phone, he'd never done door to door, he'd never done anything related to getting a stranger to give him money one-on-one. I thought it was too risky to try and have somebody who's completely new to it try and start from scratch. And so I called somebody in my network and I said, hey, do you want to make a bunch of money? And he said, yes. Can you round up some of your guys and start taking calls for this company that I have? And so they started taking sales and we started making more money. We have a W. Money up, W. Fantastic. And in a second, I'll walk you through all the statistics of what the mercenaries and the outhouse team did, which then led us to a fully in-house team. Now, as you can imagine, going from 0 sales guys to 40 sales guys in a fresh company is hard. But let me explain some of the problems with the mercenaries and then I'll walk you through the actual stats. So there were 3 main problems with the mercenaries. All right, problem number 1 is that we were giving them 20% of the revenue. All right, now this is something that I was vehemently against, to be very honest with you. In this particular company, I was in a minority position. I said, it's ultimately your call. I was like, but I would not do it at this percentage. They decided to move forward with it anyways, and hey, we made money, there was a W there. But it was a problem. 20% of revenue coming in is a big fucking check. The sales team company was arguing we can't get the top guys to sell unless we give them a really big rip. That's sales slang, big commission. So we had to give them 20% of the revenue that they collected as commission to the mercenaries team, the outhouse sales team. The second problem that came up is related to performance. They were getting less than 30% of people to ascend, meaning people who buy the first thing to buy the next thing. And we wanted it to be higher than that, or I believe that it should be higher than that. We're paying a lot and we're not getting as much out as we want. The third problem with the outhouse sales team, and this is one that I think more long-term about because I'm an investor in the business, is the sellability and enterprise value of the business. Meaning, in the future, we'd like to sell the company at some point, probably. And even if you don't want to sell a business, creating a sellable business still makes the business more valuable. And so if you can make a business more valuable to a stranger, it also becomes more valuable to you. If you have an outsourced sales team, something that exists outside of the business that's responsible for 20, 30, 40% of the revenue in the business, then that could be a material issue. That's why we decided to look at these 3 things and say, all right, let's see if we can move this in-house. I'm gonna walk you through first the funnel, kind of before and after, and then I'll walk you through the process that we did to fix it or swap it over. That resulted in the $21.6 million increase order in one of our portfolio companies by implementing a sales team. And we went from 0 sales guys to 40 sales guys in 120 days. And so I wanna walk walk you through the process so that you can apply this to your business. But before I explain the $21.6 million increase, let me kind of give you some context on this business and where it was in the life cycle. We brought in mercenaries. So when I say mercenaries, I mean an outsourced sales team. The founder of the business had never been in sales at all. He'd never got on the phone, he'd never done door to door, he'd never done anything related to getting a stranger to give him money one-on-one. I thought it was too risky to try and have somebody who's completely new to it try and start from scratch. And so I called somebody in my network and I said, hey, do you want to make a bunch of money? And he said, yes. Can you round up some of your guys and start taking calls for this company that I have? And so they started taking sales and we started making more money. We have a W. Money up, W. Fantastic. And in a second, I'll walk you through all the statistics of what the mercenaries and the outhouse team did, which then led us to a fully in-house team. Now, as you can imagine, going from 0 sales guys to 40 sales guys in a fresh company is hard. But let me explain some of the problems with the mercenaries and then I'll walk you through the actual stats. So there are 3 main problems with the mercenaries. All right, problem number 1 is that we were giving them 20% of the revenue. All right, now this is something that I was vehemently against, to be very honest with you. In this particular company, I was in a minority position. I said, it's ultimately your call. I was like, but I would not do it at this percentage. They decided to move forward with it anyways, and hey, we made money, there was a W there. But it was a problem. 20% of revenue coming in is a big fucking check. The sales team company was arguing we can't get the top guys to sell unless we give them a really big rip. That's sales slang, big commission. So we had to give them 20% of the revenue that they collected as commission to the mercenaries team, the outhouse sales team. The second problem that came up is related to performance. They were getting less than 30% of people to ascend, meaning people who buy the first thing to buy the next thing. And we wanted it to be higher than that, or I believe that it should be higher than that. We're paying a lot and we're not getting as much out as we want. The third problem with the outhouse sales team, and this is one that I think more long-term about because I'm an investor in the business, is the sellability and enterprise value of the business. Meaning, in the future, we'd like to sell the company at some point, probably. And even if you don't want to sell a business, creating a sellable business still makes the business more valuable. And so if you can make a business more valuable to a stranger, it also becomes more valuable to you. If you have an outsourced sales team, something that exists outside of the business that's responsible for 20, 30, 40% of the revenue in the business, then that could be a material issue. That's why we decided to look at these 3 things and say, all right, let's see if we can move this in-house. I'm gonna walk you through first the funnel, kind of before and after, and then I'll walk you through the process that we did to fix it or swap it over. That resulted in the $21.6 million increase in profit, not revenue, profit. The way that this process was structured is we had a 2-call setup. We've got a percentage of people who schedule a call, a percentage of people who show to the call, and then schedule the next thing. Then they have to show to the next thing, and they go to the next call, and then do they buy? So let me walk you through the stats here. Because everyone who bought the product had a first call that they wanted to attend, 100% of people were scheduled to show up for this call. With the outsourced sales team, we had 74% of people who were actually showing for the call. Once they got on the call, we're able to get 53% to schedule the follow-up call. And so some people call this a qualification call, which is if you're going to sell something else, you want to make sure the person actually fits for the thing you sell. Makes sense.
You're familiar with me? Do you know who I am, somewhat?
Of course.
No.
No.
I'm Sam Evans from Wish, basically. So who can tell me what actually is scale? I mean, the answer's literally on the screen, so I'm going to hide it shortly. But what's scale? Someone tell me.
Customer time LTV, something like that.
Not quite. What is it? Define it at first principle, because if you want to do it, you have to know what it is. Come on.
Making more money.
Kind of. Scale at first principle is an increase of volume. That's all it is. So you're like, how do I scale? You've got all your KPIs. All you have, the answer is just increase scale. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do this, because basically when I came to Will's Mastermind in April last year, we were doing about 400 to 500 grand a month, and we've near enough doubled the business in about a year. So we've gone from 400 to like 800, 900. And I've been spending the last month really on this document, figuring out like how we did it and what mental models and stuff you use. Seldom is it about ads or funnels or copy or sales scripts. It's all about mental models and how you see it and how you think. And this is the main thing I learned from Sam Ovens, is like, it's about how you see it and shit like that. So we're gonna go through this thing. So we'll start by defining it. So scale at first principle in a business contract is basically just an increase in size. I think we can all agree on that. It's just taking something you've already got and just expanding it. And really, like the online business thing, we can break into 3 buckets. So another first principle that we can define, that we absolutely know to be true, that we can reason from to get a gauge of this thing, is we have 3 systems in our businesses and nothing else. You could argue you've got operational backend, but acquisition and conversion, which is getting more clients, increasing market share, more appointments, more leads, this is the stuff that you guys want. Right, this is what everyone thinks scale is, but there's 2 more things that everyone forgets. Value delivery, which is more results.
A great story will still find its way. It's never been easier to tell your story. You don't need an editor-in-chief, you don't need the local newspaper, you don't need someone at the TV network saying that you're allowed to be on camera and talk to the world. That's gone. Democratization of being able to tell a story is fully here now with the full-blown scaled internet. On the flip side, it's never been harder. You're competing with the entire world, and the ability and what you need to do it well every day, the form factors are changing quickly. Here's the good news for everyone who's scared by how hard and fast it is. A great story will still find its way. Even if you don't know the best practices of how to post on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, you will be stunned how much a story can find its audience if it's just told from the heart in a pure form. However, and the reason I even wrote Day Trading Attention, if you're actually good at the thumbnail and the title and with time to post and the words and all the best practices across all the different platforms, you will reach more people.
Attention is the #1 asset.
What do traditional marketers get wrong about reaching their customers?
This is an incredibly challenging one for me because the reality is that I believe most companies, big or small, are really struggling in today's marketing landscape. I think that they're struggling in assumptions or yesterday tactics to reach customers. The biggest companies in the world are built on reach and frequency, and what they think reach is running television commercials over and over, or if they're modern, banner ads. And that's just really the truth. It's just funny. I know everyone on the other side of this video right now are laughing and don't think what I'm saying is true, but I'm telling you it is true. There is an incredible misunderstanding of the biggest brands in the world, where the consumer's attention is, and how do you actually get to it in the form of advertising or organic behaviors. But small companies too. Over the last decade, many small companies that sell direct to consumer have really relied on Facebook and Meta to run ads, cookie people, and retarget them. iOS 14.5, an update from Apple on their terms of services, made the ability to retarget far more illegal and completely not achievable. And so over the last 3 years, even the best direct to consumer under 15-year-old companies have struggled and are trying to find their way. And so this is actually why I wrote the new book. I think people are just very misguided in tactics of yesterday, or they get overexcited about tomorrow. I have more people coming to me asking me like they need a metaverse strategy, yet no one's in the metaverse yet at scale, than they are about a proper social media and creative strategy. And so the biggest misconception or the biggest misstep that I see from everybody is they're obsessed with yesterday, they're curious and willing for tomorrow, but they're missing the mark today.
Do you think the lack of focus represents a lack of caring?
It's a really funny question. I think caring comes in a whole different bucket, but I will say that it lacks consumer empathy. And I think empathy and caring can find a way to dance together. And here's what I mean by that. I believe that there is not enough emphasis put on the actual consumer. And so what I just laid out is people are putting academics or their selfish wants and needs ahead of the actual consumer. What I mean by academics is people are on reach and frequency, or like how traditional media works or digital media work. They're going based on the books in the classroom more than what's actually happening. Or on the selfish part, they don't care that they're following you around the internet and running 100 ads at you and cooking over and over. They don't care that they're bombarding you into buying something. And so, yes, I think there is a lack of caring, but I also think it's a lack of empathy and a lack of common sense and a lack of a lot of things that has led to this big disconnect in marketing that we're living in the modern world. I think that caring when it comes to marketing is respecting one's time. I think we don't respect consumers' time. I think that if we're gonna fill them with messages, wouldn't it be nice for them to enjoy it? I think you see it happen once in a while. The Super Bowl, I would say, is a place where we do a better job caring. We try to actually make that 30-second video entertaining. I think I see it every day in social media. I see young brands, new brands, actually make content that people want to watch, and they do entertainment that happens to also be advertising. But those are very far and few in between in today's world.
So what do you think the stakes are if a brand doesn't have empathy for their customer?
Well, I think the stakes are very high. I think business, unlike education systems, unlike government, unlike a lot of things in life, are actually based fully on merit. The stakes are staying in business. There's a reason a lot of people go out of business, and it is almost always directly correlated to them missing the mark on the customers they're trying to reach.
How does the act of caring help me connect with my audience and my customers?
When your lens is caring and empathy to connect with the consumer, you're actually thinking about them. You know, I could not explain to all of you watching or listening more how many marketing ideas literally spend no time on will the person on the other side like this? It's just how many do we have to sell, or this is the way it's always been done, or I don't mind interrupting them in the middle of a video and giving them my video, which has no context to what they were watching, and I'm gonna be sell, sell, sell. So I think when you come from a lens of caring and empathy, you just tend to make better advertising. You tend to make better advertising.
Do you think you have strategies for listening or considering the customer's feedback to deploy empathy?
I would say my number one strategy is something I've done my whole life, which is before I start talking, I listen. And you know, obviously as a personal public figure, it seems like I'm always talking because that's also what I make in my content, but almost everything that comes out of my mouth has been predicated on me doing a lot of hours of listening. Social media's greatest power is the ability to see what people are thinking. Now, listening to people on social media is a little bit different today than it was 15 years ago because now people know that others are listening. People are definitely virtual signaling. People are being strategic about what they're saying. A lot of people are consciously or subconsciously PRing themselves. So I wouldn't say everything you read is as pure as it was a decade ago on social from humans about opinions of products or services or trends. But no question, at VaynerMedia, at my advertising agency, we have a function, a job in the strategy department called PCS, Post Creative Strategist. Their job is literally to read all the comments of every single comment based on the stuff we post on social and the comments of competitors, products, and posts. This is one big game of listening. We're living in the golden era of consumer insights because of social media. You were able to extract all sorts of hypotheses and ideas and understandings of consumers. And so I have a strategy, it's been the strategy of my life. It's listening on the internet at scale to as many different opinions and thoughts around products and services to then form better innovations and adjustments of products and services.
When you're taking the insights, how do you use that information to inform your strategy?
Well, that's, you know, taking what you read on social media and layering it into strategies becomes a talent game. The human or humans that are consuming that information, they become the variable. It's like big data. I'm sure it's a term many people have heard. Big data is beautiful. You can know everything about everything about everything, about a consumer or 1 million people or 100 million people. The question is, what do you then do about it? So, as you can imagine, there's different skill sets in the world. There are people in the world who are able to read a lot of insights and listen to a lot of people and then form ideas of what to do with that. There are others who can just amass the information and categorize it, but are unable to come up with a strategy or idea of what to do with it. For me, that's the $1 million question. If you know that everyone is trying to eat less heavy, right? And not just from a calorie standpoint, but let's say from a clean eating versus the alternative. The question is, what do you then do about it? Do you change the formula of your product? Or do you make your messaging allude to the places where you're scratching that itch or bringing value to that audience? That is a skill set creatively that is needed to take the insights and form them into an output.
One thing that stood out to me during the research of this was also listening to people's pain points.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
You know, maybe it's because I was an older brother and was told to watch out for my siblings. Maybe it's because I've been managing a retail store since I was basically 15. But I've always looked for pain points, friction, things that people don't like. So yeah, I think the best businesses in the world are fixing something that everyone's complaining about but hasn't been fixed yet. I'll give you a good example historically. Drive-through fast food. People value time. And obviously someone eventually along the way, probably in the 50s, 60s, 70s, said, you know what? Instead of making them park and walk in and wait in line and get their burger and fries, why don't we just let them drive through and be able to save those 7 minutes? That was a very strong innovation, a good idea. Other times it was the benefits of the product, maybe taking out an ingredient, maybe putting in an ingredient. This is what you do through focus groups historically. This is what you now can do through social listening at scale. Pain points are much more exciting than kind of wants. You know, a pain point, like I will not use this company because of this. That's a pain point. Kind of wants are, I'll keep buying from this place. Maybe I'll buy a little bit more if they do this. And so pain points are huge business. And if you can find ones that haven't been found yet, that's when you're talking about eureka.
Can you define to me what segmentation is, and how can I use it for my business?
I believe every business needs to be thinking about consumer segmentations in a much bigger way. So a segmentation is putting a group of people into a group that you're, in this scenario, targeting. So segments can be very large. You've probably heard this if you're listening, 18 to 35. That was a big one for television. They loved for 40 years talking about 18 to 35. I always found that humorous because as I went from 18 to 35, I couldn't imagine a human being more different than someone at 18 and 35. You're literally growing up during that era. So I get why TV did that. We had less targetability. It was a different era. I'm sure there's some academic grounding in that. But segments are creating groups of people that you want to go after with a message. I like narrow targets, and I like doing a lot of narrow targets because I believe the more narrow you are, the more relevant you can be to that person with that message, thus rendering them to consider what you're talking about or what you're selling. So as you can imagine, if I'm trying to sell this sweater, which I like, which is why I wore it, if I'm trying to sell this to 18 to 35-year-old males, I may come up with a very general guide.
My favorite keyword research strategy. Want to know how I find keywords that bring me tons of traffic? It's maybe the most important part of nailing your SEO strategy. 68% of online activity starts with a query in a search engine like Google or Bing. Identifying the right word to include in your content is essential. And according to Ubersuggest, 89% of the keywords get only 10 monthly searches or fewer. And according to Ahrefs, only 0.16% of the most popular keywords are responsible for 60% of all searches. What does that tell you? If you want your keywords to actually show up in your audience searches, you have to choose them extremely carefully. SEO is not a strategy where you can guess and hope for the best. Want me to tell you my favorite keyword strategy? Well, let's dive right in. Step 1, keyword discovery. This can be the most difficult part about the process, but you need to get it right. I see a lot of beginners make mistakes in this phase. Maybe they'll choose really broad targeted words or obscure phrases that no one is searching for. That's why I love using keyword research tools like Ubersuggest or even Answer the Public. So once you head over to Ubersuggest, all you have to do is input a phrase and click search. You'll get a detailed breakdown that includes search volume, which is the number of searches per month, SEO difficulty, estimated competition for organic search, paid difficulty, estimated competition for paid search, cost per click, the average cost per click for a Google ad, typically the higher that number, meaning more it's likely to convert from a visitor and a customer. But the best part, scroll down and you'll see plenty of variations of the keyword phrase you search for. If you're on a tighter budget, optimize a low competition, low cost per click option that still gets you good results. Or choose a few different ones and A/B test them to see what kind of results you're getting by running some Google paid ad campaign. And then from there, use the 5 keyword idea variables to expand your search. See in the Ubersuggest search results page, you'll see suggestions, related, questions, propositions, and comparisons. These are all tabs that you can click on to get even more keyword ideas. Step 2, analyzing and choosing the best keywords. Ready to narrow down your results from step 1? I like going with no more than 100 keywords for this part of the process. Eliminate the obvious ones that you don't want to use. Ubersuggest can help you see what pages rank for the keywords that you want to use, plus how many backlinks those pages have, and how many shares they have on Facebook and Pinterest and Reddit.
In this video, you'll learn the best ways to do keyword research to grow your SEO traffic for your SaaS business. So let's get started. Okay, so when you do your keyword research for your SaaS business, the first thing you need to do is list out all of your seed keywords. Okay, so think of all the main words for your tool. So open up an Excel document and just start brainstorming. So let's say we have an email tool. Some of our seed keywords would be email automation, email marketing platform, email marketing tool, autoresponder, and so on. Okay, so once you list out your main keywords, what you want to do is go to keywordseverywhere.com, and this is a browser add-on that you can install for either Chrome or Firefox. So install Keywords Everywhere, and now what we are going to do is Google all of our seed in these widgets. So you can see the SEO difficulty score. Open up a new sheet and focus on relevant. These are middle of the owners, and just keep on going. Now I also like to focus on comparisons as well. So I'm going to type in VS and take a look. So let's see, email marketing versus CRM, email marketing versus newsletter, so on and so forth. You could also pit your company against another product. Okay, so you versus MailerLite, you versus ActiveCampaign, and so on. So you can compare what you offer